Well, it's great to be here in Sweden in the Champions of the Future 2022, and we're here with two of the top drivers from Sweden in the OK category, Oscar Pedersen and Viktor Gustafsson. Good to be with you boys. Firstly to you, Oscar, obviously having grown up in the world of Swedish karting, it's obviously incredibly competitive here. Tell us a little bit about what it's like racing in the OK categories and the lower categories in Sweden.
In Sweden it's a bit different racing. Mostly we start off with the cadet class. It's like then we go to micro and mini and the mini 60. And from that you can either choose X30 way or the OK Junior. And I started with OK Junior and then moved up into OK Senior. But then I did some X30 races in between. So yeah, that's basically it. And then some drivers advanced to the KZ category.
And Viktor, how competitive is the OK racing, the style of racing here in Sweden?
Very much so. I think especially this year there is a lot of young guys coming up as Oscar, being really quick, making me that now is a bit older. Our lives quite difficult, but it's fun, and also hopefully my experience can play a little bit of a role, but we see what happens.
Now the two of you are racing in the same category against each other from the same country with knowledge of the circuit, but at very different stages of your career. Oscar, what's it been like coming into the OK category at European level and having to acquit yourself against some of the best drivers in the world?
Yeah, it's been really tough, but this is my first year doing all the season fully internationally, so it's having been very tough to race against the more experienced drivers.
And Viktor, you obviously have done this for quite a few seasons now, but OK and KZ, you kind of switch between the two, so that must make it very difficult to have to adapt from one weekend to the next for a very different style of driving.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, KZ is the thing that I'm known for. I've only done one season in OK and then I switched to KZ very early on. And just in my second season I won the European Championship. So that was good, but now I got the opportunity to help the CRG factory team to grow again, and hopefully I can do a good job there. Obviously KZ is where my heart is, but it's fun to jump into OK and see our potential. It's difficult to jump from one week to another in very different driving styles. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things I think we're going to learn in Champions of the Future this weekend is how difficult the weather can be here in Sweden. Oscar, obviously there's a bit of an interesting forecast. Some of the time it's predicted to be wet, some of the time it's predicted to be dry and very hot. What's it like to have to be very dynamic in terms of getting the strategy right as the weather changes?
Yeah, obviously I looked at the weather apps to see what's going on, and then just sometimes just about to chance which tires you use, if it's wet or dry, and then just go for it.
Viktor, is this something that obviously with your experience you must have had some good days with getting it right on the calls with weather and some bad days as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a gamble most of the time, but I think as a driver it's really difficult, and I think that's where you see the really good drivers from the maybe not as good drivers, where the different conditions change over the heat, or you go out in the rain with the slick tires and you have to change the way of driving and all this sort of stuff. And I think that's making the really good drivers stand out. But yeah, we see if we get an example this week.
Now we've spoken to a few of the OK drivers over the weekend. They say this place is very physical in the OK category. Oscar, having come up through the ranks of different categories, now you're here in Champions of the Future in OK. Just what is this circuit actually like to drive in the fastest direct drive kart on the planet?
It's very physical. You can feel it in the neck and the arms and everywhere. But I also think that we will come up to some harder tracks this year, like Frankrike I think will be tougher because of the weather. It's hotter there probably.
So because it's very technical, Viktor, I mean, are you having to kind of relearn the circuit when you come here in a different type of kart, or is the fact that you've grown up here, can you learn from that data?
I think it's almost a disadvantage for me to being local. You're here testing when the track is not as good, there's not as many people driving, there's not the same level of grip, and you learn the track in a different way. coming here now, you have your lines, you have where you put the gas, you have all these benchmarks. But when you get here and the grip changes, it's normally a completely different way of driving. So me personally, I almost think it's a disadvantage to be local. I would rather prefer being somewhere else, to be fair. Even though it's very nice to be here at home, you know everyone, is very relaxed for me personally and all this, but the track side of things is quite difficult. Yeah.
So the challenges of the physicality of the circuit, particularly with elevation change, Oscar, just how much work are you having to do in certainly the slower apexes when you've got so many fast and technical sections of the circuit, and then you're having to go from fast high speeds to big braking zones?
Yeah, you need to be in the slow ones. You need to be very smooth and fast because the sprocket is not as big there, so we have to go more smooth and just try to go for the exits. And in the fast ones, we just want to carry the more speed.
And I imagine, Victor, with the varying differences between high speed and low speed corners, obviously tyre wear is going to be a real factor here, particularly in some of the longer races on Sunday on a circuit that's got very little grip to play with anyway.
Yeah, I mean the grip will definitely make it very hard to manage the tyres. It's very easy to go over the limit and then you start sliding, you start overheating everything, and then it's just a downward spiral from there. And also the setup is never good because there is a lot of slow speed, high speed, so you have to adapt your driving style of which way you want to go with the setup, which also makes it more difficult. But I think, especially hopefully with my experience, tyre management will be a factor that I can play with. But we will see how we go on. Yeah.
Well, guys, it's really great to get your technical insight on it from a local perspective. Oscar, Victor, thank you very much for talking to us.